Okay, we have Attorney Joseph McBride. An honor and a pleasure to meet you. My cousin actually knows you. I know a lot about you, and not just the guys you're representing now. The reason why you got into this to begin with, what a story, and an honor, really, to speak with you.
Thank you, Tommy. It's good to be here, man.
Could you have picked two different cases that couldn't be more controversial right now other than the Trump? You throw Trump in that, man, you'd have the top 3 controversial cases in the planet.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you know, as my mother would tell you and my father, it's the hard way or no way with me.
Yeah, you got Andrew and Tristan Tate, and then you got the January 6th protesters. I mean, woo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a lot of work, but it's a worthwhile fight. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, they picked a good guy. Now, you originally got into this because of your brother Anthony, right?
Yes. In 2005, my brother was wrongfully accused and then subsequently of a crime, convicted of a crime he absolutely did not commit. It destroyed my family temporarily. I come from a good Catholic family. My mom and dad are the best of what America has to offer. Watching them go through this, watching my brother go to jail, I had to do something, and I was a street kid from Brooklyn who knew how to make money and who knew how to run a business and who was a hustler, but I was no academic. But I had to do something to help my brother. So I decided I would go to college and then go to law school to try to get him out. It took me 10 years to get through that process. And by the time I was done and I was in a position to help my brother, he was like maxing out like the same month. I wasn't able to actually help him because it took so damn long. But I committed my life toward fighting for people, good people who had been unfairly targeted by the justice system for very personal reasons. Sort of some of the fuel in the tank and the fire in my belly when I step into a courtroom in these more difficult cases.
And probably one of the very few lawyers you can actually trust nowadays that you write down a sentence and that's $3,000.
It's an unfortunate reality of the situation. And my clients are usually very grateful with how I bill because I don't believe in doing that. It was done to me. It was done to us. I thought it was disgusting. And I'll never do it to anybody, no matter how rich or how poor the client.
And what did they charge your brother with that he sat that long for a case he didn't do?
It was child abuse.
Jesus.
Yeah, you want to talk about going to jail for something you didn't do. Make a long story very short. My brother met a girl who was messing up her kid. He didn't say anything. And when the cops came and said, hey, we know what's going on here. We want you to testify against her. I'm not a rat. I won't do this. I won't do that. Blah, blah, blah. I love her. Fast forward 6 months. She cops the deal. She's facing 30 years flat. She cops the deal and blames my brother for the other half of it. She gets 15. My brother gets 15. That was the end of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. Insane. My brother would never hurt a fly. Never mind a kid. It was horrible.
Well, my thoughts go out to your brother, man. Sorry I had to go through that. We had Shannon Briggs in yesterday, the boxer. And
Sure.
we were just talking about, he's done a lot of advocacy too. And just imagine sitting in there for 10 years, 15 years, even longer, knowing you didn't do it. Knowing you didn't do anything. You're just there and, your family left you and you got nobody.
You got nobody. It's horrible. It's crazy. I become a lawyer, and through the process, people learn my story and you learn about other people's stories and you find out that this stuff is not isolated. One of the guys who I used to work with, now he went to another firm. He's doing well for himself, but him and I were working for another firm before I went out on my own. And his name is Marty Tankliff, the guy from Long Island. He was accused of killing his mother and father, did not do it, went down for murder, did 18 and a half years in Clinton Correctional, worst place, nice Jewish kid from Long Island. And guess what? He didn't do it. After 18 and a half years, he gets fully exonerated through DNA evidence. They find the guy. He sues, becomes a multimillionaire, goes to college, goes to law school, and now he's a professor at Georgetown teaching kids about wrongful conviction work. 20 years of his life in the bing for nothing. But look, a good thing came of it in the end.
Pull up tab 2 so everybody could see Mr. McBride's website. And what a great guy. When like I was in court once and I saw this, I had been there with my friend and my friend came out and we were talking with the lawyers and this guy wasn't joking. It was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he said, "I'm going to retire when I give out 1,000,000 years." That's what he said. And he was a federal judge, and he did. He retired. He was like 70 something and retired then. As a lawyer, when you're going up against judges, and he was serious, man. You know, the guidelines would be, say, 60 months. He would give 210. And then, you know, you could appeal it and knock it down. But on his little chart, you know, he had 10, maybe it was 100,000 years. It was something just ridiculous. As a lawyer like yourself, and you're taking these heavy cases and so on, when you get a judge like that, what do you do?
You know, one of the things I think that makes me a little bit of a different defense attorney from other people, other than the situation with my brother, is despite having two real good parents, I'm a street guy. I grew up in the street. And, you know, there was a lot of things I probably should have got jammed up for, but because I had two good parents and God was maybe looking out for me, I was smart enough to sort of whittle my way out of multiple situations. And I know that, you know, had the situation gone left or right, it could have been me that had been facing a lot of time in jail. And because of that, I have a lot of mercy and compassion on people who come to me because I get it. I understand life. Conversely, on the other side of that coin, you grew up with a lot of these guys who just hate life and they're just disgruntled. They were bullied or they're just downright evil. The girls didn't like them. They sucked in sports, whatever it was. And they get these jobs either as sometimes they're bad cops, other times they're bad teachers, lots of times they're bad judges. And they make it their life's mission to ruin everybody else's life because their life sucks. At the end of the day, I really don't have a better explanation than that. It's either they're evil or their life just sucks so bad that they want to project that suckiness onto everybody else's life. But it's very unfortunate when it happens. I do my best to try to humanize my clients to these judges to the most extent that I can. But sometimes there's just no escaping it.
You know, I would have to fully agree with you because I've been in there and I've noticed when I used to live in South Philly, if a judge was a decent looking guy and you knew he had like a nice wife at home, probably a nice family. No, really, like
it's true.
He wasn't given, he would go be under the guidelines. He was just doing his 9 to 5. But then if you got some, you know, the guy that maybe a street guy like you or us back in the day would throw a cupcake at in the lunchroom, he's ready to go give fucking, you know, 3,000 years. And when I look back and I think the fat, ugly guy was just hitting that hammer like no tomorrow, and the prosecutors, but the good looking ones that you knew had like probably a hot wife, they were just like,
it happens.
Oh, cool.
It happens with teachers. It happens with teachers too. Like my kids, some of the stuff that happens at school, it's like, they specifically target the football players. And again, if you're being a dick, you're being a dick, you should do it. But they're not doing anything, and they just because they were the teachers that got made fun of during school, and now they're taking it out on the people who made fun of them, I guess.
But what's great about you, sir, is that you're from the streets. I'd hire, man, I wish I would have thought of you. If I ever had a problem, I'm hiring you because you know how it is, you know.
I do.
So before we get into your current case, I just want to ask you two things. One, what's your thoughts on the Tucker Carlson thing? And I bring this up because anybody on the planet who actually believes that Fox paid $700 million or whatever they said for derogatory slander, is that what it was? Slander? $700 million for slander? Like anybody who believes that, in my eyes, has to have a hole in their head.
Sure. So I think that Fox News completely sold out to the powers that be, that they were told as a part of coming back into the fold of legacy media, that Tucker Carlson needed to go before the next election cycle fully took off. They wanted to silence him. They wanted to get rid of him. Look, they come up with all these things. What Tucker Carlson did was he spoke the truth when nobody else had the stones to do it. And he spoke it with a lot of force, with a lot of power, with a lot of education, and with a lot of everything else. He's brilliant, maybe the best in the world at what he does. And somebody like that, who's your breadwinner, who's your ace on your team, who's the guy you want to sign to a lifetime contract, you cut him from the team. It doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows why it happened. And, you know, they essentially sold their soul. But what they did in that process was they ensured their own demise. Fox News represents Blockbuster Video. Legacy media is going the way of Blockbuster Video. They're not going to be around much longer. Their relevance has long since been called into question. But I haven't even turned on Fox News since Tucker left. And it was on my house like CNN in an airport all the time. I don't watch it anymore because I have no reason to. And what they did was they unleashed him on Twitter. And now, he had 3.5 million viewers a night on a great night. Now he posts something, it's got 80 million views. Who's the real loser here? Yeah. Who's the real winner? I mean, forget it. So at the end of the day, I think it was, the biggest bitch move possible on the part of Fox News, but we know why they did it. And God bless Tucker for standing on his own 2 feet, for fighting back. And, I got a real good feeling he's going to be doing some real big and very important interviews in the very near future. Not that he's not doing them now, but I hear some rumors through the pipelines.
Is that right?
Big ones may be coming. Yeah.
Is that right? This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
Right. Is that right? Hint, hint, hint. But, it's like, could you have just said 70 million, you idiots? But yeah, I used to have it on my house too, like, just for noise. Now, it just makes me sick. And Tucker's a cool dude. He's a really cool guy. Great. Like in person, he's a cool dude. He'll throw in a chew. You know what I mean? He don't give a fuck. And then, second, if you're Trump's lawyer, and I say this when this comes up with a lot of political people that we have in sometimes, in the beginning, when they're trying to get something dismissed in New York, where you're at, okay, in that courtroom with that prosecutor, okay, they're not, you and I both know, and I'm not a lawyer, I just been around it. There's no way in hell they're dismissing anything. Wouldn't the move have been from the gate, get it out of New York at all costs, and when they deny it, then take it to the Supreme to get it? Because he's not winning in New York.
It's a good question. It's hard. These change of venue motions in these cases, they're largely unsuccessful. For instance, in D.C., in the January 6 cases, we filed change of venue motions in every case that was trial bound, and we were all denied. I was denied in every one of my cases, and every other attorney who filed a change of venue motion was denied. Not one was granted. Thousands of cases, not one was granted because these people want to prosecute Trump there. So the same kind of rule applies in New York City. I think the New York City jury may be a little bit better than D.C., but if I were their team, I would waive the jury. I would put it on the judge, and I would make the judge the decider of fact and law. The jury can be persuaded by political bias. The jury can be persuaded by emotions and all these things. It's incumbent on the judge to not let that happen because he's a professional and a lawyer of the highest order. He's a judge, swore an oath. He's got to do the right thing. So if I were in their shoes, that's what I would do. I would waive the jury and I would put it on Judge Rashawn's shoulders to do the right thing. Tough situation.
Yeah, I think all his lawyers are on the take. And that's why I always say on this podcast, right, well, whenever this comes up, he needs a lawyer like you from the streets, representing mob guys before, takes on case that, you're not going to take a payoff. He needs a mob lawyer or you. That's it. I believe that they're all in the fucking take.
I appreciate the compliment. I can't say anything about other attorneys.
Sure.
It's just something I can't comment on. But I do appreciate you seeing that kind of value in me. It means a lot.
Can you pull up tab 1 or 2? So with the Tates, Tristan and Andrew, how did you get involved in that case to begin with?
So I got a call from a mutual friend, and he said, "I think you may be somebody who they may like," and they turns out they liked the fight that's in me. They saw some of my work that I've done publicly with regard to January 6 cases and some other matters. I had some conversations with them, and it turns out that they were in need of somebody who was going to go out there and really hit hard for them. I'm not the only lawyer on the team, but I do bring a particular brand and set of skills to standing up for people who have the matrix or the deep state or the conglomeration of the most corrupt people in the universe after them. There's only one way to do that, right? When David fought Goliath, he did not say, "Oh my God, it's Goliath." He looked at him and said, "Who the hell is this guy that defies the armies of the God of Israel?" Yeah. He picked up 5 stones and a slingshot and he cut his freaking head off. And he goes, "Okay, next." Hey, win, lose, or draw. That's the only way to approach these fights. Tristan and Andrew saw that in me. To be honest, I see that in them as well. And quite frankly, it's a match made in heaven. Very happy to have the chance to represent these two wonderful human beings. I'm actually going to be hopping on a plane tomorrow to go see them in Romania.
Yeah, we know Tristan. He's a great guy. Great guy. Nothing what initially before I had met him thought he would be. Great guy, super intelligent. I can't say enough about the guy. Now, you being in the U.S., how does that work as an attorney, then working in Romania? How do they say okay to that, or how does that work? So
there are sort of 3 worlds of legal issues that they have. They're American citizens, and they have interest in the United States of America. They are British citizens, and they have interests and liabilities and so on and so forth, as they do in the States, in the UK as well. And they're residents of Romania. They are currently being held by the Romanian justice system, the Romanian government. So in order for me to have any type of interaction with them with regard to that case, my conversations with them go through the Romanian lawyers. The Romanian lawyers have their own way that they do things, and it's only the Romanian lawyers or somebody who's been admitted to be able to practice in Romania who could speak to the court on their behalf in Romania. But we have a working relationship with them as well. I sort of have been brought on to be the public face of the worldwide case, to be able to explain to the media what's going on here, what's going on in Romania, what's going on in other parts of the world. And in the very near, look, they have been accused, wrongfully accused by people in the United States and by people in the UK and in Romania as well. Most of these accusers, all of these accusers have put forth and proffered meritless allegations. They're untrustworthy people. We have dug into their life. And at the end of the day, we're going to exonerate Andrew and Tristan Tate's name by a very powerful demonstration of truth to the public. The other side is going to it was going to say, they're trying to intimidate, that these people are victims. And look, at the end of the day, there is a long and very unfortunate history of largely women using the justice system, in particular orders of protections and false claims of rape and false claims of domestic violence against men. Those laws are there for good reasons, because there are bad guys who abuse women. On the other side of that coin, there are women who use the justice system as a sword and not a shield to levy false allegations against men and ruin their lives completely. This is something that has been happening. It has not been checked. It is going to be checked. We are going to blow the roof and the walls wide off and wide open on this case and in other cases like that, because it shouldn't be happening. Men deserve equal treatment under the law. It shouldn't be a woman or anybody else says, hey, this guy did this to me, or this guy said that about me in 1983, or this guy put his hand on my leg in 1964, and your life is over. I don't think so. There's an attack on men. There's an attack on masculinity. There's an attack on strong men who speak up and say men have a place in this world. Men are responsible for making this world great. And there's nothing toxic about masculinity at all. And if you're going to attack me and levy some kind of false accusation against me simply because I speak these truths into existence and other men gravitate toward my message, well, then bring the fight, because we're going to have it. And at the end of the day, you're going to lose.
I love it. I love it. My grandpa would be rolling in his grave. Toxic masculinity. What does that even mean, you know? And we had it's like some crazy word. We had Russell Simmons on, and you know, people could say whatever they want. We sat with him for 3 hours on a Zoom, and in his situation, it's kind of relevant to this. 30 years ago, he pulls up in a Rolls Royce. Hey, would you like to get in the Rolls Royce? Hey, would you like to meet Jay-Z, Kanye? Yeah, I would like to. Would you like to go to the best hotel on the planet? Yeah, I would. While I'm outside smoking a cigar, you put your hand on me. We have sex. 30 years later, now I victimized you, and I'm out of the country because you got 3 girls saying this 30 years later. And basically, it's basically like, because he had money and asked them to get in a Rolls Royce, he like manipulated them into having sex or whatever it may be. But it's just insane. And that's what you see here. This episode is sponsored by ZBiotics. What is ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic? The ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic is a genetically engineered probiotic you drink before drinking alcohol to avoid that rough next morning and get back to living your life. PhD scientists invented it because they know the real problem is not dehydration. It's a toxic byproduct of alcohol. And ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic is the only product that breaks it down. Just remember to drink responsibly and plenty of rest too. Every time I have ZBiotics before drinking, I'm amazed at how good I feel the next day. ZBiotics is a must-have for me because it means I'm still going to make my daily workout even if I have a few drinks the night before. That's important to me. You can get ZBiotics for 15% off your first order using my code MSCSmedia at checkout. I recommend getting the 6-pack. That's what I got. It's a great deal. You have a couple extra to share with friends. Go to zbiotics.com/MSCSmedia. That's Z as in zebra, biotics, BIOTICS.com/MSCSmedia, or scan the QR code on the screen right now and get 15% off your first order.
It's absolute ridiculousness. It's if you're a successful man who is out there in the world saying, hey, look, I am successful. I am the American dream personified. I raised myself up by my own bootstraps, or maybe I was born into money, whatever it is, but I'm successful. I'm not here doing it. I have nice things. I have a nice car. I have a nice house. You're a target. Yeah. You're a target, and that should not be. It's not right. It's not justified. It's extortion via the judicial system. The system knows it, but because the system is diametrically opposed to what these men and other men like them believe in, they can go after you. And those disgruntled judges that are on the bench that got picked on in high school, you know, they're going to side generally with the accuser. But there's something happening. There's enough good daughters in the world. There's enough good wives in the world. There's enough good women in the world where they're saying, you know what? We are sick of these men, these strong, good men who we cherish, who are the heads of our family, who are the protectors in our lives, who have put food on the table and put us through school, being accused and having their lives destroyed by these women who could never hold a candle to them. And these women are now speaking out. You see it all over the place, and it's a good thing. So I say that to say this: there is a shift coming. The persecution against Donald Trump, really got people sick of it. But now you see Andrew and Tristan Tate, two beautiful, successful guys who have everything in the world, no need, no reason to ever harm a woman. And yet that's what they're being accused of. I mean, come on, get the heck out of here, man. Give me a break.
Now, how do you hold these guys for 93 days? How do you hold them? They held them for 93 days without charges, right?
Yeah, the Romanian justice system is different than ours, and I have to be careful what I say about the Romanian
Sure. Please do.
system.
Please do.
Because their rules are their rules, and you can be accused of something, and you can be held for a certain amount of time without even being charged in Romania. That's just the way it works. We hear that in America, and we go, "Well, what the hell? That doesn't sound right." But let me remind your viewers and the public of what has happened to January 6th pretrial detainees. Some of them have been in jail for 2 years already. And under any other circumstances, they would have been let out and they would have been home. They would have been working. They would have been with their wives and their kids, but their families are destroyed. They have no income. They've lost houses. Marriages have broken up. People have committed suicide simply because they chose the wrong candidate. They came to protest with the wrong candidate on that day. So the idea is this: if you represent, or if you have the audacity to speak out against what is the party narrative for the day, they'll lock you up, not because of what you did, but because of what you say and what you believe in, to send a message to you that if you don't stop, it's only going to get worse. And they couldn't have picked two more worse people to try that out on than Tristan and Andrew Tate, because these guys ain't rolling over for nothing.
No, they're not. And when I was, now they filed the charges, and isn't one of the charges they said the lover boy method?
What?
Yeah.
What the hell? What the hell is the lover boy method?
So it's a ginned up version of Stockholm syndrome, right? So Stockholm syndrome is like the idea that you've been kidnapped, and at some point,
by millionaires, by multimillionaires, right?
Yeah, by multimillionaires.
Good-looking multimillionaires.
I hope someone kidnaps me soon.
Kidnap me and take me in there a couple of the Lamborghini. Shit.
All right, kidnap me on your super yacht, right? It's ridiculous, right? So the idea is that these women are so feeble-minded that they cannot possibly think on their own when they're in the presence of these godlike men, because these men are like Zeus and Hercules, that these women are just so inherently weak that when they see them, they fawn over them to the extent where they're brainwashed through some mystical glamoring, some vampire-like power, right? It's the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my life. And it's also one of the biggest insults that you could ever give to free-thinking and independent women who make their own choices, right? So all these alleged accusers, or people are against them. But when the government interviews these people, these women are going, "What the hell are you talking about? We love these guys. These guys are great. We love our life." At the end of the day, what you really have is one woman from America who went there for 6 days. And by the 6th day, she had contacted the United States Embassy and the local authorities to say that she was being human trafficked. Somebody who went there voluntarily on her own accord. 6 days later, there's a human trafficking case. Gee, I wonder how the hell that happened. I mean, come on. It's the setup of the highest order. All the charges against them are false. Unfortunately, what we have here is, you juxtapose this with January 6th, right? January 6th is the biggest investigation in the history of the Department of Justice, biggest in terms of manpower, expenditures, people, boots on the ground, data, and money, right? It's the biggest budget ever spent on a prosecution in the history of this country. The prosecution and investigation into Andrew and Tristan is the same thing in Romania. It's the most expensive criminal prosecution in the history of that country. So it's like, have they reached a point of no return where they need their pound of flesh? They need some type of return on their investment? I don't know. I hope that's not the case. I hope that the justice system over there can be better than the Merrick Garland Department of Justice over here. Look at the papers, look at the evidence in this case, and say, hey, look, we understand these allegations were made, but they're horseshit, and we need to let these guys go.
I'm sorry, it just cracks me up, and I'm glad you said it. The woman got on the flight to go there. I don't know how you even come up with the word human trafficking on that one. When that woman got whatever, she went there. The guys are worth tons. Every girl on the planet wants to be with them. I don't think, if she was a pain in the ass, they would have just leave. You know, you're going to say human trafficking and then charge them, mess around with them, all because, in my opinion, and, you know, you don't have to quote on this, but because it didn't go with whatever agenda is going on over there.
You know, they had, the woman flew herself out there first class on their dime, and they say, here, go ahead. When she got out there, she was picked up in a Rolls Royce. She had 6 days of glitz and glamour and friends and all of this. And then all of a sudden, she's a victim of human trafficking. It's a lie. It's a downright lie. And when the truth comes out about the type of individual this person is who went there, the world's going to see very, very quickly how much, who's the real victim here. For an individual like this to hold herself out as some kind of victim, it is preposterous. And I don't care what organization out there that she's working with. I don't care what organizations that are out there that are backing her. You're knowingly backing a predator. You're knowingly backing somebody who went there for the specific purpose of destroying these men's lives. And if you continue to proffer this false narrative to the public with the knowledge in your hand that she's actually the wrongdoer and that these men are innocent, when the tables are reversed, don't be surprised when we come for you, because those lawyers should not be backing people who are straight up lying. She is specifically trying to destroy their lives. I don't know who she's backed by. We have our suspicions, but it's wrong. And these lawyers that are backing her are unethically practicing at the highest level of the practice.
She set these guys up. And again, when we were talking with Tristan, he was involved in building that university, all these great things to basically, in my opinion, the things that they've taken out of school here in the U.S., like wood shop that they've taken out. What else you said that they took out? Like all kinds of stuff that it used to be when we were growing up. Fucking gym, for Christ's sake. Everything. Andrew and Tristan were trying to put that back where men are men again. Men go to work, take care of their woman. That's what they were doing, and they didn't like it. This broad gets on a plane, sets him up. Let's just call it what it is. She set him up. Then two of the supposed victims comes out and says that they were two of the victims, right? Who originally were victims, said that no, like nothing happened, and then the judge, what he said, that they were brainwashed, some crazy ass thing like that.
It's an insult to women. It's an insult to these women. These women get up there and have said, "Hey, listen, our lives were great there. The allegations against them are wrong. We told the judge this. We told the prosecutors this, and they're saying, oh no, sweetheart. You really don't know what you're saying. You've been brainwashed. Don't worry. We're going to speak for you." And they're going, what? There's nothing wrong with us. You shouldn't be speaking for us. But because something else is afoot here, this kind of thing is happening. Yeah,
that's what it was. The judge actually said, right, sir? Jesus. You're brainwashed. We'll speak for you. Like what?
It's strange and it's disappointing, but we know that this is not about what they did. This is about who they are. Yep. They are empowering men of every stripe, of every race, of every creed to step out into the world to be somebody. If you're a 14-year-old kid from Brooklyn, if you're a 13-year-old kid from the UK someplace, if you're a 16-year-old kid from Africa or a 17-year-old kid from China, they are reaching everybody and they're getting this message. And the message is clear. Men, you can go out there and do anything that you want to do in the world if you put your mind to it. You don't need to depend on the government. You don't need to depend on a warped education system. If you go out there and if you try and if you refuse to quit, you eventually will be successful. That's the message to everybody across the board. And if you look at their social circle, you have these followers of these young guys who are becoming successful. They're climbing their way up the ladder. And then they're also, Andrew and Tristan have the bill, the goods, the receipts to back it up. These guys are connected to some of the most rich and influential and powerful men in the world. right? And that is a fact. That's not an over exaggeration. How did that happen? How did they get into these rooms? Because these rich men and these rich women, but primarily men, because that's their circle, who have the yachts, who have the this, who have that, who have all the material things in the world, they see value in what Andrew and Tristan has to say. They see value in having these men in their presence, and that says something. But these other soy-infested wimps, these limp wimps who want men to be neutered, gender neutral, and not successful in this life, loathe them and hate them for their message, and they'll stop at nothing to see these men put in jail, even if it means that they're going to jail for doing nothing wrong.
Funny example. Rob couldn't make it, so I had called this guy who's always crying about money, and I said, "Hey, do you want to come in and do the board? You know, good money. He needed money." He says, "I'm cooking a crock pot." I said, "What is a crock pot? I don't even know what a crock pot is. I'm a guy. I go to work. I come home and I eat whatever's in it." He says, "I can't." I said, "You need to go watch Tristan and Andrew." That's what I said before all this happened, and get some balls on you. Really, because that's what they were doing. Like, to me, it's just wild shit.
You bring up these examples, and one that's of course Tristan and them are the top one, but there was that football player, the punter. He got drafted, best punter in the country, drafted by the Bills, I believe, and he hadn't even started the season yet, and he was accused of like gang rape, and so the Bills dropped him. So he lost all that money, all that chance, and then they come to find out that he was telling the truth. He wasn't there. He never was there. He had left or something, but they have it documented. And now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can come back, and he's going to play for the Jets, I think, probably on half the salary. His character's ruined. But I never hear the stories of what happened to the person that accused him. Why aren't they held accountable for their actions?
You make a fantastic point. What we call this in the law, in today's modern parlance, is that the punishment is the process, right? It's like, yeah, look, we know you're innocent, but we're going to slap this nefarious, disgusting allegation against you. And the stain of that, it's like throwing tar on a white shirt. Sure, you can get most of it, but the shirt's never going to be the same. People are always going to look at that shirt and go, I don't know what happened there. It's the same thing. And you may clear your name, but you're going to go on with that scar, with that stain on you for the rest of your life. And the person who uses the judicial system against you, especially if it's somebody who's calling themselves some type of victim of a crime, nothing ever happens to them. And guess what else happens? Nothing ever happens to the prosecutors, because they have qualified immunity, who are knowingly prosecuting you and going after you, despite the fact that they know that what they're doing is wrong.
They have qualified immunity?
You sure do.
Holy shit.
Hey, you never hear their names.
Well, I'm glad, as you said, you're going to get to the bottom of it. And that girl who's setting the Tates up, she's probably the first time ever that you see, oh, this is the one who tried to ruin these guys. And that's the only way you can clear that up, really.
It is the only way. Andrew and Tristan Tate, they're going to make a stand. They are making a stand. They're going to win. Their names are going to be cleared. When the facts come out, the facts are going to be so overwhelmingly in their favor that no reasonable person is ever going to be able to conclude that they are guilty. But what this represents is truly, it's a paradigm shift. It's an inflection point. It's a message to men everywhere that you do not have to be silent, that you do not have to sit down and put your head between your legs and say, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me, that you should fight back. And if you are accused falsely of something in the workplace and your employer lets you go without due process, simply for the fact that you've been accused, and then you subsequently restore your name, you should turn around and you should sue your employer for all the money in the world that you possibly can do, because that person didn't stand by you. That person participated in the process because they were a chicken shit and they didn't want to stand by the person that they invested in simply because they were accused of a crime. Guys like myself, guys like you guys, like we run our own businesses, we can't really be canceled in the traditional respect. Our employer's not going to say, oh, you've been accused of this. Good luck, buddy. And out the door you go, right? Andrew and Tristan, same kind of thing. Donald Trump, same kind of thing. Oh, yeah, you said this. It was locker room talk. What the hell you want from me? I'm Donald Trump. Nobody's going to fire me. The world has a problem with people like us because the traditional methods of disenfranchising us don't work. So how do they silence people like us? Prison. That's how.
And imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if a guy got on a plane, went to Romania to meet two beautiful girls and said, oh, I was victimized. They would laugh.
Yeah.
and then I would get beat up when I got back from my friends.
That's true. It's very true, and justifiably so. What the hell are you talking about? You know what you were doing.
But it's just the double standard, such bullshit. Now in Romania, I know you'll fight to death. I love the aggression in you, man. I love it. I can feel it over here, man. Just as I love it. Can you, and whether you can or not, I know you'll go tooth and nail. I can feel it. But can you get a fair trial over there?
I think you can get a fair trial there. Look, if I were to put the Romanian justice system up against the American justice system right now and say, where are your chances of getting a better trial? I don't know what the answer is. I don't have any historical data. Romania is notoriously, Romania is corrupt, Romania is this, Romania is that. There's no real historical data about the Romanian justice system going after a population of people simply because of the color of their skin and what they believe in. Whereas over here in our country, you can't say that. So could they get a fair trial in Romania? I think so. I think that if the court sees these documents for what they are, assesses the evidence for what it is. Now, the prosecutor, is that person a fair prosecutor? No, I don't think so. But could they get a fair judge, a fair panel, and a fair shake? I think so. I think that their chances are a little bit better of succeeding in Romania than Donald Trump's chances are succeeding in front of a jury in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Now, having practiced, here in the U.S. with big cases and everything else, what are the biggest differences between Romania and here when you walk into that courtroom and everything else?
So it's hard for me to say. I haven't walked into a Romanian courtroom yet. I got to be honest, right? So the Romanian team, those are the people who are really handling that case. We're in an advisory capacity and in a listening capacity over there. There's a lot of differences from the way that people look to the way that people dress to the way that people are addressed in the courtroom to the way that the process works. For instance, my understanding of Romanian law is that if you lie on the stand, if you perjure yourself, there's really no repercussions of it. Whereas if you perjure yourself over here, you can catch a perjury charge for it. Wow. Conversely, if you lie in a complaint in the United States, it happens all the time. People really don't care too much about it. But if you lie in a complaint in Romania, there can be severe consequences for that, including jail time. And what we have here regarding the complaints that have been made against Tristan and Andrew is a complainant who straight up lied in her complaint. And there should be judicial repercussions under Romanian law for those lies on paper in a sworn statement against these two fine gentlemen.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, like here, like the federal system, you could be on pretrial for 10 years. Do they move? Even if you went for a speedy trial, it's up to them. They do what they want. In Romania, can you get this moving and done quick, or are they slow with things?
They move at their own speed. They have laws on the books. They reached a point where Andrew and Tristan had to be released off of house arrest, and things could have moved in a positive direction for them. But right at the moment where the timeline was expiring, they dropped an indictment. Right, so there's certainly a time table there. It can be wiggled around like it can be here as well. But the court system is the court system, and if they want to extend something, whether it's here or in Timbuktu, they're going to do it because it happens all over the place all the time.
And if for some reason people haven't already heard it, but you're the guy to hear from, what exactly are they fighting against?
Well, they have different allegations right now against both of them, but generally they're being accused of human trafficking. There were rape allegations and a bunch of other nonsense allegations. There's no proof of it. When you think of human trafficking, we all know what that is. Yeah. How horrible it is. It is a disgusting and demonic practice. And if you're an actual human trafficker in this world, if there's actual evidence that you've human trafficked people, you should be killed in the street.
Yeah.
You should be hung up, strung up in the public square and left there for your body.
You're a sick individual. You're a sick individual. Yeah,
for sure. But because Andrew and Tristan Tate stand against that kind of thing, because they are pro-woman, because they are pro-man, because they are anti-human trafficking. Those are some of the reasons why I represent these guys, because they disdain that type of evil. But how do you, when somebody stands up against that kind of thing, you accuse them of it, right? Yeah. And there's another thing too. Andrew and Tristan, people look at them, they don't. I'm mixed race, right? I'm Irish and I'm Puerto Rican. People look at me, they don't know. What are you, Italian? Are you this? What are you that? Nobody knows what they're making me because of how I present, right? So Andrew and Tristan Tate, they're half white and they're half black, and there's a real thing when people who are half black or all black, when they speak out against the current narrative, like if you're not falling in line from what they want from you, look at Dave Chappelle, right? Yeah. When you're not falling in line from what the system wants for you, what did they do? What did they do to Clarence Thomas? What did they do to Martin Luther King Jr.? What did they do to black men who are standing in a position of power, cutting against the grain and telling the white slave master in the Democratic White House, we're going to do it our own way? They accuse you of rape. They accuse you of rape every time. This is an actual thing, and it's happening to Andrew and Tristan as well. And all the people, all the organizations on the left who have been saying, oh, this has been happening to blacks for so long, you don't hear a peep from them because their messaging and their politics don't fit the lefty agenda, and it's a disgrace.
If you want the video, I got 3 hours with Tristan, and there wasn't one sexist thing, not one thing against women, not one, for 3 hours long, not one.
I 100% believe you. The guy is an old school gentleman.
Old school.
Yeah. He's well thought out, well dressed, good looking guy, well put together, old school, old world in the best possible way. The idea that any of these things is true, it's utter madness.
And speaks extremely intelligent too. He knows his math. He knows what he's doing. I can't say enough things about him, because you go in, before I had started talking to him later, you go in and you hear what people say, and I'm waiting for the sexist thing or something crazy. Not one thing. All extremely intelligent. Big future plans. Not a fucking a trafficker or anyone even close to that. Nothing even near that. So it's just such a sad thing. Now, what's it like? I mean, I know we'll get to the January 6th, but what's it like representing this particular case? I mean, this is a massively high-profile case, not just in the United States, everywhere. Andrew and Tristan are loved. I don't know one girl that doesn't think that they're God gift on earth. You know what I mean? If I could get 2% of that,
they're blessed.
But what is it like representing that high profile of a case?
It's great. I mean, representing these guys it's very easy. Look, I come from a family of brothers. Like we said earlier, I changed my life. I changed my career because of what happened to my brother. And I see the bond that these two guys share, the unbreakable fraternal bond of brothers. And I love it. I gravitate toward it. I see it in them. There's sort of this unexplainable truth when you can see certain things and recognize certain things in other people. And I see it between them. I also see, two guys who are gentlemen, two guys who are warriors, two guys who are incredibly intelligent. Andrew is incredibly intelligent as well. I mean, the guy, he makes, these massive calculations when it comes to social media and branding and imaging, like on a split second basis. It's like boom, boom, boom. He like super computes. And then you'll see something hit we'll talk about an idea to hit the internet and get like a gazillion views like in the same hour. And I'm just like, man, you know how long it would have took me to compose that tweet or divvy up that video? Like the guy has like this supercomputer in his brain. and he's also got balls of steel. He sits out there in front of the world and he says things exactly like it is, with no apologies.
What we're all thinking, right?
What we're all thinking. Yeah. He's a completely reasonable guy. You know, he just did this. Like, it's a good example. He did this interview with PBD the other day, right? And during the interview, he's talking about the culture in the world, and he, to paraphrase, he says, a guy says he's gay. Okay, you're gay, no problem. Two guys are going to get married. Okay, hey, that's your choice. Now we want to wave a penis in front of your 5-year-old son. He goes, oh, like, what the fuck, right? Like, there's a line, and he represents the line. And lots of the things that he says, if you think about it in terms of the stock market, the Tates, in particular, Andrew, in his messaging to the world, represents a correction in the stock market for everybody who's been short selling the stock of masculinity for the past 20 years. Masculinity is done. Masculinity is toxic. It's yesterday's news, blah, 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 blah. It's like betting against oil. Like, are you out of your mind? At some point, it's going to bounce back. And it bounced back hard, went to the moon like a Tesla stock in the form of Andrew and Tristan Tate. And the world just can't deal with it the right way. But in terms of my interactions with them, they're great. They're these very successful, brilliant guys. And the professional level, they want to say, hey, what can we get done together? What is it that we can do? Blah, 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 blah. All the professional stuff is there. Consummate businessmen, consummate professionals. But on the personal level, it's like hanging out with my brothers. Yeah. Like, these guys are just like normal dudes who love the world. They love America. They love Great Britain. They love the UAE and that part of the world as well. They think that God is good. They think that men should be men and women should be women, and that people should make money and live their life to their fullest potential. What the hell is so bad about that? So in terms of the very short answer to the very long answer to your very short question is I love it. It's easy to fight for them, and I'm proud to do it.
And I loved how I had the balls to just bury BBC. Yeah, you fucking went on and just mangled them. I mean, they were already at the end anyway, but I mean, that was just the knife that they turned.
Well, you said it right. It's everybody's feeling it. Tom, you said it, I think. Yeah. We're all feeling it. It's like people just are afraid to say it because they'll lose their job or they'll be canceled, as we call it, or, all that type of stuff. In your opinion, everything kind of goes in waves, I guess, but how much longer are we in this cancel culture society? Like, do you see it finally going to be moving past that point? Because it feels like we've been in this, like, I don't know what you want to call it, for a little while now, and like people are. Matrix. I think people are sick of it. I do. How much longer, in your opinion, do you think we're in this cancel culture society?
It's in its fatal. It's in its death spiral right now. Trump sent it into the death spiral. Andrew and Tristan Tate are part of the finishing blows. I think that people need to realize that one of the things that makes America and a free capitalist society great is for a independent man or a woman to go out and to monopolize the means of production by themselves and not be dependent on somebody else. And what I mean by that is small businesses. When you go out there and you start a business on your own, right? And you don't have to answer to nobody. If you rise to the top and you make all this money, you have this success, you own that success. And if you fail, well, you own that failure too. And if you fail, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up. And you keep on pressing until you get it right. When you're that type of man or woman, you're uncancelable because you answer to no one other than yourself, your family, and God. And I think that a return to dependability, away from dependence on the government, dependence on big, gigantic corporate structures. We see it all over the place, like what you guys are doing in social media and the independent journalists around the world. People are breaking away and saying, I don't need this overlord over me. I can go out there, put myself out there in the world, polish myself, present the product to the world, and they're either going to love it or hate it. And I'm going to live with that. And if more people do that, we'll get back to the roots of what made this country great. And what we'll do is we'll put an end to cancel culture, which has its roots in socialism and communism. The only way you can be canceled is when the people above you have all this power over you. Strip them of their power and they can't do shit to you.
Just like Andrew did with BBC. He could have brought them back to life. Or, I mean, BBC could have came back to life if they would have played that card right. But they came with the bullshit.
They sure did. and stuck it to him. I was so
Wrong
pissed
guy.
when I saw
Wrong
that.
guy.
Made me so angry because, you know, you're watching it the whole time and you see what he's doing. He's fighting, he's burying it, but it's like, how can you be this dishonest and live with yourself? But that's the world we live in.
Yeah, and how long do you see this dragging on for? Like in your opinion, you know, I'm sure you get asked this a million times throughout your career, but how long do you see until this is wrapped up?
The Andrew and Tristan,
yeah,
a couple of years.
Yeah,
for sure, for sure. You look at Trump. You indict him, you impeach him. You know, he's Teflon Don. He bobs and weaves. You know, you can't get him. He shakes everything off. And when that, you know, and now what do? They pile it on from all the other places. You know, it's this very improper public-private partnership that should not be. The public sector is the public sector for a reason. The private sector is the private sector for a reason, right? People say, oh, there is no deep state. There is no matrix. Really? Well, you know, if Joe Biden sneezes on you and then all of a sudden, you know, your banking institution debanks you and Facebook deplatforms you, there's obviously a connection between these entities, and that shouldn't be there, right? But that's what's happening right now. And until we can get laws passed that hold private actors and corporations accountable for doing government-like censorship on people, we're going to be fighting this for a while. And with regard to Andrew and Tristan, look, their enemies are vast, but, you know, their friends are even more vast. The people who support them are stronger or greater. And, you know, I'm a faith guy. You know, Jesus took me out of the street. I mean, everybody I grew up with is dead or in jail. I got like 2 friends out of like 100 who are left. And they're my 2 best friends. And we all ran at the same time and figured it out. Everybody else is gone. And that Jesus was my path, right? Tristan's a Jesus guy. Andrew is a Muslim, but they have found a way out based on faith. And when you can find a way out based on faith and independence, it's only a matter of time before this evil loses.
Oh yeah, you're a monster, man.
Yeah.
You're a monster. You're a monster, man. Boy, I'd just watch. I'd watch you on a podcast just in the courtroom, just tearing people apart because you're not going to let shit slip. I mean, really.
That's not a bad idea.
No, really. And another thing, you know, with the Tates, everybody thinks that I had known around, if they didn't watch the video or didn't see him somewhere else in a long length, not just about a current, they weren't handing money. They went from nothing to what they are now. That is
very true. And look, we share that story, right? I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and neither were you, and they certainly weren't. My brothers and I, despite having 2 great parents, we weren't from abject poverty, but we didn't have anything extra. And we grew up in the world where everybody had everything around us and we wanted more. So we had to hustle. Sometimes it was the right way. Other times it was the wrong way, but we figured out a system in the end based upon dependence on each other, dependence on God, and networking, strong networking with good people, and making sure that people who tried to take from us in that process were dealt with accordingly. You got to do that in the business world, and you got to do that in the street. If you let your enemies take advantage of you, you'll never progress in this world. They did what they had to do the right way to survive. They fought their way through the street. They fought their way against incredible odds. Single parent household, a black father, a white mother, not fitting into any one ethnic group, not fitting into any one club. And guess what? Because they didn't fit in, they became leaders. Oh, you don't want me in your group? I'm just going to form my own freaking group, and everybody else is going to follow me. I respect them for it. I think that their path to getting to where they are today is an honorable one. You can't take any of that away from them. And that's what these people who are trying to rob them of everything don't understand. May it never happen. You can take all their money away from them, but you can't take away their accomplishments that they've done on their own. And because of that, the money won't leave either. That's just the way the laws of the universe work. I know it. They'll be successful in the end because they have defied incredible odds at every stage of the game. And this is no different.
And Mr. McBride, the reason why I bring that up is because people look at them like they're trust fund boys. They didn't eat. they would eat at night, like what was leftovers at, I forget what place. Let's just say it was McDonald's.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, yeah.
So when people that don't know, you look at them, they were eating Kentucky Fried Chicken at 9 o'clock at night because every dime they made, they put into what they believed in. So these aren't some guys that got a pile of money and went to Romania, blah, 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 got girls. No, they went from literally KFC out of the trash can, I think, if I remember correctly, to where they are now.
The American dream, man.
You know? I just think that's an important point to make, especially with this bullshit case.
That is an important point. And, you know, I forget who said it. I'm going to paraphrase. There's a quote out there about fighting. And I don't know if it was Rocky or if it was Muhammad Ali, who it was. But it's basically like, if you're going to beat me, you're going to try to beat me. You're going to have to know what it's like to endure what I've endured, to suffer the way I've suffered, and to have gone through what I have gone through. And if you haven't suffered those things, if you haven't endured those things, if you haven't gone through what I've gone through and been where I've been, there's not a snowball chance in hell that you're ever going to beat me. And that's what those experiences do to you. Those experiences, you know, they make you hard. They make you steal. They also make you compassionate, and they make you understand people. But you know, there comes a certain level of protection, a certain level of understanding that you've made it to a certain place, and no one can take that from you. My brothers and I, my brother Eric and I, when my brother Anthony was locked up, I'll never forget. I was struggling to get through school. I left the working world. I didn't know how to make a budget as a student. I was back in New York City. I couldn't afford to go home for Christmas. He came to see me. We were having Dinty Moore pork and beans with bacon in it for Christmas. And I was saying to him, Eric, there's going to be a place, there's going to be a time where we become so successful that people are never even going to see past our success. They're never going to understand that we've gone through this moment right here. But never forget this, bro, that no matter what happens to us, that this is where we started from. And if we ever end up here, we'll get back to where we need to be. But because we're here, and because we know that where we're going, nobody in the world is ever going to be able to stand in front of us. And I got to where I'm at. Our brothers got to where you're at. You've gotten to where you're at. Andrew and Tristan have gotten to where they're at because of experiences like that. And people who have been handed everything, people who have always been a part of the group, people who have always think that they know better, and whatever the hell it is, will never understand that level of sacrifice and what it takes to push through those circumstances, to break through those barriers, to become. And look what Tristan and Andrew have become. They're two of the most influential men on the planet because they refused to quit.
Yeah. And makes you more, it makes you treat everybody equal too. It makes you give everybody a chance. You don't look at them like you're above anybody or anything else. You know, they'll talk to anybody and help anybody out when they have time. When I was growing up, I hated my grandfather. Now, looking back now, I'm thankful. But I had to do papers in the morning before I went to school, then shovel snow, fucking lemonade stands, everything. And if I didn't, I had this 6'7" guy come in with the belt.
Yeah.
And my mom would be like, "No, you're going to kill him, Tommy." But he wasn't messing around. Hold the door for a lady. You don't talk to somebody older than you. Otherwise, you know, you're going to go, it's not going to end well for you. And I hated him at the time. But that taught me drive and dealing with things and fighting through adversity and everything else. And without that, fuck.
You hold the door for a woman? That's like, you're not supposed to do that now. We had someone in that told us.
Wait to hear this
I
one.
forget who it was, but they said that they were at the airport and they held the door open for a woman, and you know, she was struggling. She had her suitcase and whatever else. And he went to help her and she said, "I can do it myself. I don't need your help." I'm like, okay. Then she got on the plane and she had trouble putting the suitcase above the top, and she's like, "I can do it myself." Okay. And then they get to whatever board meeting he was at, remember? Yeah. And in walks that woman. And he was just like, it was just like, but it's like frowned upon. Like I tell my kids, hold the door for elderly people, for anybody. It doesn't matter. A woman, man, hold the door. It's polite. You don't let it slam in their face, but it's.
In South Philly, Mr. McBride, I got smacked.
Yeah, you will.
This lady was carrying groceries. It's just funny. She was carrying groceries out. This was like in late 90s. And I was just busy, and she's like, "You don't hold the door for a woman?" Whack. Yeah. She smacked.
Did you see that?
Yeah. You know, the same as in New York. And I was like, oh, shit. Thank God my grandfather I mean, I'm not glad he's dead, but I'm glad he didn't hear about it. You know?
Mr. McBride,
She was right.
Hell yeah, she was right.
Mr. McBride, are you, and I know the answer is probably no, but I don't want to say afraid, but are you worried that, you know, you have such a high-profile case, and you have these, let's just call them idiots out there that want to destroy these men, that they're going to try to find a way to destroy you because you're, you know, representing them? Not that you're afraid, but are you worried that someone's going to try to find, oh, he got a traffic ticket when he was 16? You know how they do that, though? They'll find something.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the answer is this. I had an attempt on my life because of my January 6th related work, April of 21. No, April of 22, April 5th to April 7th, 2022, I had an attempt on my life. I've had people try to come at me in all different ways. I had a very unfair situation in DC court where I was accused of misconduct. I had to defend myself. I won. My name was cleared. Are those things going to come? Is there serious danger? Yes. But because of my faith in God, because I truly believe in my heart that God himself has handpicked me for this for this mission, and that if my expiration date on this mission is tomorrow, well, there's not a damn thing in the universe I could do about it. But if my expiration date on this mission is 100 years from now, then there's not a damn thing that anybody in the universe can do to me about it. And when you come up the way that I did, and I literally mean this, gangs, drugs, violence, I mean, you name it, I've seen it all. And I could give you 100 different times where I should have perished. I can give you another 150 different times where, because of my own stupidity and self-inflicted negligence, that my life could have been one way or another. God protected me through all of that. And when I had an encounter with him as a younger man, it's one of the first things he told me. You know, not only did he forgive me and wipe me clean, he said, bro, I got you. I've had you the whole way, and I'm going to have you going forward. And it's in the deepest part of my soul. It's what makes me who I am. And I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid. If there was an ounce of fear in me based on what any of these people could do, I would be. It's like a fighter who gets into the octagon or the ring. You're defeated before the bell even rings, right? But the guy who steps in knowing that he can win, seeing that there's victory, no matter who the adversary is in front of him, well, you know, you're going to have to do a lot to break that guy and to beat that guy. So do I think about it sometimes? Of course. You know, Cassandra, my other half, she's on the other side of these screens watching all the media right now. I have these conversations with her all the time. And, you know, she's a good corner man, a good corner woman. She's my Mickey to my Rocky. And she'll tell me, listen, if it's your time, it's your time. It's not a damn thing you can do about it. But I know it's not your time. I've seen our future. I know I've seen our kids grow. I've seen this and I've seen that. And at the end of the day, I know that you're going to be victorious. I know that God is going to protect you no matter what the results are in this case. And because I got a great woman like that in my corner, because I got a great family, because I got God himself behind me, I don't fear. I don't fear at all.
You're awesome, man. Yeah. and sorry, Mrs. McBride. I promise I won't take him to the meat market when he comes down. You could come with him, Mrs. McBride. I promise. I promise.
She's going like this.
I promise. I brought my wife when I went.
They have good steak.
They have good steak. I promise. I'm sorry. Please. No,
it's okay. She's the best. She gets me. You know, I got to tell you. I was no angel before I met her, and she made walking away from that life so easy for me. The moment I met her, that life ceased to exist, and I never thought that was possible when it came to me. I just never thought it. It just was a part of my life since I first started liking girls. But when I met her, she changed my life in such a way that I just never looked back, and it actually. That whole part of my brain that was focused and running around, I was able to devote it to my career, my family, and I became such a more effective guy. And you know, there's just something very, very important and very beautiful about good women. This idea that women need to be ultra independent and they don't need men and their motherhood is bad and blah 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 blah. It's just it's just it's pure crap because I have somebody who's so great like her behind me. There's nothing that I can't do in the world. I trust her with everything, and I just don't know what it would be like to get through life without somebody like that in my corner. And in terms of gender roles, like when the kids are crying, my son's my best friend in the world, but when they're crying at night and they're doing this and they're doing that, they don't want me. Right. They want mommy. Right. And when I try with them, the other night, my daughter was going nuts. She's teething. She's got all this stuff. And I'm like, I want, and she looks at me. She's like, you got a big week. You're going to Romania this week, right? You don't need to go to Romania with a puffy face. You need to be rested and ready to go, right? Get the hell out of here. This is what I'm here for. I love you. This is my job. I got this. Go to sleep because you need to be your best tomorrow. And what am I going to do? Well, I don't deserve that, but I got it. I'm never going to give that up. So the combination of the family, God, her, I'm the most blended. Clients like this, talking to guys like you, my life is great. I wouldn't trade it with nobody.
Hey, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shave your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code MSCS Media for 20% off and free shipping. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a monster of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messing around in drawers, this color one, that color one, all with one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The Pro Kit doesn't end there, though. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember your hair is different. Next, Manscaped's beard oil. Cap it off with beard balm. The Pro Kit also comes with 3 different gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code MSCS Media at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code MSCS Media. Bless you and your wife. That is so awesome. You found someone that understands you. That's the biggest thing. When you come from South Philly like me and you, and it's tough to find a woman that understands. And she does. And I have a little daughter too. She's about to be 3. And when she's crying, I can do all I want with that holding thing. She wants mom. Forget it. Forget it. Now, when she wants cereal with marshmallows, then I'm the guy. But other than that, forget it. And I think it's just so cool that you have such a good relationship. And I really respect that. I'm happy for you. I'm really happy for you, too.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I really do.
I mean that.
And
I know you do.
Did you say you got are you part Puerto Rican and part Irish?
Yeah.
I don't want to piss you off.
Wow. Yeah. my both my boys. I'm Irish. I'm mixed, but I'm Irish, and then my wife is Puerto Rican. So it's a nice mix. Skin wise, they get a little tan. They don't get the burn like me, and they get a little temper from the Puerto Rican side, I think. But I don't know.
When his wife says no, I say okay. Yes. We'll be done by 9. We'll be done by 9. Okay. I don't want any problems. And then shifting to the January 6th guys, we had 3 of them in? And everybody was like, oh, don't have them in, blah, blah, blah. No, fuck you. I want to hear them. We had them in, put up the GoFundMe. A lot of other guys that we've had in, people won't have them in for whatever reason. And what I've noticed is, me and Rob, we'll put out water for them. And if they don't open the water, because we go 3-4 hours sometimes. If they don't open that crack of water, I'm just waiting. All right, when did they try to kill you? And somewhere along the line, and these are guys like the guy who invented the QR code, Epstein, not that Epstein,
not that one.
McCullough, Malone, when I see somebody come in and they don't open a bottle of water, I say, Jesus Christ, they tried to kill them over what? Standing up for what they believe as a doctor or as a world-renowned person, and that's what they do. And I had those January 6th guys in. I didn't care, because I had a federal agent in. He retired after that. And he had told me, he said, look, I was on the outskirts, but, the whole thing where, they, I guess, trespassed, the agents were telling them to go in. It was like a setup. Like, go in, even though you're not. No, it's okay to go in.
You're good. Yeah.
And then we're going to bury you. And I don't think people understand, and I didn't even know it until I started reading more and more about what you had put out, sir, the insane conditions that they're putting these men in. And to me, I mean, I know there's like a handful that may have actually done something, but for the most part, it's like a trespassing. But what conditions are these men in? And women, I believe.
Squalid. It's a it's gulagging. It is the gulagging of your political opponents because they're dissident, because they have a different worldview than you, and they would dare protest and/or speak out against the regime. People say, "Oh, you can't say that. You know, this is not the Soviet Union," and blah blah blah. It's the same thing. It is the same thing, bar none. I've been to the jails on multiple occasions. I had 2 of them shut down at one point. It is the denial of attorney-client access. It is the denial of medical care. It is the illegal use of solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is defined as captivity in the cell for 22 hours or more a day, absent meaningful human contact. And prolonged solitary confinement is 15 plus days, 15 to 1,000 days, whatever it is, anything more than 15. Prolonged solitary confinement, 15 days or more, is defined as torture. It's torture in New York State. It's illegal. It's torture via the Nelson Mandela rules under the United Nations laws. It's torture. You can't do it. Some of these guys were left in solitary confinement for like the first 9, 10, 11 months. Whew. They left them there in order to break them, in order to force a plea from them before they went to trial, before the evidence came out. Wow. They put them there for the specific purpose so that they could have psychological breakdowns. Wow. And just say, I can't take this anymore. Give me the quickest deal out of here. Okay, I'm facing 50 years, 5 years, I'll take it. And they were able to do that. And they're
for no reason, sir? No. Like, what was the reasoning for putting them in solitary confinement?
They used the pandemic as a pretext.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
oh
they
my
said.
Gosh.
So what they did is they put all these guys in. If you were to look at the jurisprudence on the criminal law on bail from 1984, which is the year of the Bail Reform Act, up until January 5th of 2021, under the reading of that law, 99.9% of all these guys would have went home because no criminal records, not dangerous, not flight risk, model citizens, they all would have went home. But on January 6th, and then after that, they created a new body of case law specifically pertaining to January 6th defendants. And it's, oh, you said this on Facebook. Oh, you said this in an email. Oh, you said Trump won. Because of that, you're in danger. If we let you out, you're going to go and do something else. So in the gulag you go. And they put them in the gulag knowing that the pandemic was going on. And we said, Judge, what's going on here? You know, it's one thing to put these guys in, but to leave them in solitary the whole time, that's crossing the line. You're not if you're convicted of a crime, you're allowed to be punished by the judicial system. Punishment is the deprivation of your freedom. But if you've not been convicted of a crime, if you're merely a pretrial detainee, you can't be punished, never mind cruel and unusually for months at a time. So we said, Judge, stop the presses here. This is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's inhumane. They're violating all these laws across the board for the purpose of getting these guys to plea. We all know what's happening here. Let them out. Oh, the pandemic, you know, this, you know, that. So they left them in. 1 year went by.
Wow.
And during that whole year, we were saying, speedy trial. We need the cases to go. These guys are languishing in jail. And they said, oh, because this is the biggest investigation in the history of the DOJ, we need time to go
trespassing case.
Yeah, glorified trespass. So they waived speedy trial for the first year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just.
And you never. I haven't heard that on one. I didn't know that. Yeah. You never hear that on one news outlet. Not one. Left one, right one, middle one. I've never heard that they just skipped the bucket. They went right to. They skipped the bucket. We used to call it the bucket. They went right to solitary confinement. Took their medical care. Shit. All just to get them to break. The 3 guys we had in, nicest guys you'd ever met. They were vets, as a matter of fact. Nicest guy you could meet, ruined their whole family. Had to move, everything. And these were ones that just bullshit charges, like not even past the door. Just like you said, like an email or something wild. Ruined their family with lawyers. They had to spend all their money on lawyers just to stay out.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. A lot of these people were waved into the Capitol. So there are a few groups of people. The two main groups are the people who were violent and or the people who went in. So if you went in, they're really going after you. But a lot of these guys were waved in. They don't care. The juries don't care. It's a travesty. A lot of these guys were violent. Picture it. You're a 50, 60 years old, 40 years old, 30 years old. No, you're a veteran. You're a fireman. You're a policeman. You have no prior history of violence. You have no, other than traffic tickets, you have no criminal history whatsoever. There are 1,000 guys who match this description. 900 of them have assaults on cops. Why do they have assaults on cops? Why? I'll tell you why. Because when a good man watches cops beat the shit out of a woman, they say, hey, cop, stop that. Otherwise, I'm going to get involved. And the cop goes, oh, yeah, F you, bam, and drills the woman or sprays the woman with a mace. The guys take action.
Right.
And these guys took action against a Tiananmen Square-like crackdown on political speech at the Capitol. And because they had the audacity to defend these women or to defend these other men who couldn't defend themselves, they have like violent, deadly weapon charges, all different types of assaults on police officer charges that they could face 20 and 30 years in jail simply because they took the appropriate remedial action to stop police brutality and violence. And when you look at that through the lens of the protests that took place in 2020 and 2019, 2021, the burning down of cities, we've seen the third precinct in Minneapolis get burned to the ground. All these things happen. Oh, these are people who are angry, and because they left their houses with the intention of participating in political protests and not participating in crimes, we're going to give them a pass. Yet everybody who went to January 6th to the Capitol with that kind of thinking in mind, they all had the book thrown at them. Again, politics, nothing else.
Never heard that on the media either, that some of these guys were charged with helping out a woman. Never heard. Tell me a media station that they put that on for more than maybe you went on and they cut you and they shot you out in 30 seconds. We got to go. Wow.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of Tucker, because he spoke out about it.
Wow. And where does that guy Jacob Chansley?
Right.
Am I saying his name right? Where is he flowing to all of this?
Well, Jacob Chansley, famously known as the QAnon shaman, walked around alongside of photographers and Capitol Police and other people that day. They all set him up. He's walking around. He's telling people, don't break the furniture. We're in the people's house. Oh, okay, I just want to take a picture. The officers are in the Senate chamber saying, hey, this is like the Holy of Holies in here. Just be respectful. And then he leaves and he says, he takes a picture and he goes home. And his lawyer gets on TV and says, Jacob and all Trump supporters rode the short bus. My client really doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He didn't get a great defense. And because he chose not to fight, because his lawyer gave him crap advice, he took a very unfair plea and wind up doing like a year in solitary and then a couple of years in jail. He's out now, but he should have never have had to have gone through that. But because they made him the poster child and the example early on, he paid the price. Very unfortunate.
And then who are you representing, or how many are you representing, or what's your stake exactly in this?
So I've represented multiple people. I went to trial on Richard Barnett's case. We didn't win. He was the guy who had his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. I got him out of jail when I met him. We went to trial. It didn't work out. And then, sometimes when trial doesn't work out, the guys who, they turn around and they say, oh, well, your lawyer sucks, right? So I'm dealing with that whole thing with him right now. It's unfortunate. We fought our butts off. We did great. But, he blew trial. He's not happy, and he's going to appeal his case, and that's his right. Ryan Nichols, I got him out after 674 days of confinement.
Wow.
Decorated military veteran, PTSD, was driven to suicide watch while in solitary confinement. Got him out. We're fighting his case.
Put him in there with PSD. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's going to be a huge trial. We're going to trial in the beginning of November. Adam Jackson, he was locked up, got him out. Daniel Goodwin got him a misdemeanor plea.
Good for you.
But I don't know. I would like to take more January 6 cases, but it's a precarious situation because I stood up and I spoke out when a lot of people didn't want to, and a lot of people were afraid. When you get to be the spokesman, if you will, on certain issues, you have people who like you, and you have a lot of people who hate you, or they want to be doing what you're doing, or they think they can do it better, or whatever it is. And I've helped a lot of people. And a lot of people see the goodness in the work that my team and I, and the sacrifice that my family has gone through. But surprisingly, there has been a lot of people that I have helped who, for some reason, because I didn't do exactly what they wanted me to do during the time, they sort of they're not my fans anymore, and that puts a drain on you. That puts a brain drain on you. That puts a spiritual drain on you. I get calls every day to do more of these cases. I'm praying about it. I'm thinking about it. Part of me wants to do more. Part of me says, you've probably done enough. So we're going to see. I'm going to make a decision here the next month or so regarding whether or not I'm going to take any more new cases. But in between now and then, I got at least 2 more trials coming up. Maybe I'll take 1 more case, depending on who it is. But, we've paid a heavy toll psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. These cases have not been easy, but the fight has been a worthwhile one and an honorable one. And that's a real honest answer.
Well, I commend you. And I think, the Tate thing is one thing. But here in the U.S., when you go into that courtroom, you're going up against the agenda. And you're going up against the agenda with endless amounts of money.
Yep, you sure are. It's the biggest prosecution in the history. Think about it. All the cases, 9/11, Bin Laden, the mafia, all these things. Nuts. It's the biggest investigation. And alongside of that comes a corresponding budget. I mean, they have billions and billions and billions of dollars, and we have our little GoFundMe. But look, David needed 5 stones and a slingshot, right? Yeah. Victory is possible. We go in there intending to win, and we've gotten some wins and we've taken some losses, but that's war. You can't win all the battles.
And the ones that are still held, do you see them getting released anytime soon, or do you think that they're just gonna, or do you think that they're going to be there until someone else comes in to release them that isn't so agenda-ish? Which who the hell knows with that?
You got to fight. Look, I've gotten all my guys out. All my guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But in Ryan's case, for example, some of these guys I got on the first shot. We figured it out. We got a decent judge. We made the arguments and we were able to get it out. Ryan's case, we got denied like 5 times. We got him out on the 5th try. When you're a scrappy kid from Brooklyn, right, or from South Philly, and you're like, if there's a will, there's a way. If you just keep on pressing, if you just keep on fighting, if you just know, I feel it in my gut that if I just do this or do that, I can eventually get them out. You just keep on fighting until you win, and we got them out. So I would encourage the other lawyers out there, to the extent that they can, to fight for the release of your guys and not to give up. It's not impossible. We did it. You can do it too. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of sacrifice. You're going to make a lot of enemies. But that's what's required in this situation.
I can't imagine the toll that it took on you and your wife and your family and the people around you, because you're going up against the real gangsters. You're going up against the real gangsters. It's just what I'm saying it. Not, you got to go in there. They're the real gangsters. If a guy can blatantly launder money through Ukraine, or in my opinion, we shouldn't even be in, you have the tape, you have the computer, you have the paperwork, you have the president on it. They know it. They don't even talk about it. Then you have the guy that I guess you're going to say is the fall guy, the son, and you're going to hit him with lying on a tax form. Okay. But yet you're going to hit a guy like Trump, these January 6 guys, Trump on classified documents, which they all had, or Trump with something at fucking Nordstrom's, like he's another one. You got a billionaire, and what, he really needs to take her into a dressing room? Things like that. But this guy is blatantly, laundering money, taking money, dealing with other countries of all things. The gangster stuff, and he's going to get off with probably probation or a fine.
handguns, smoking crack,
yeah,
taking payments, banging hookers all over the place. I mean, forget it. Like his phone is like, it's like, forget about it.
And in any other situation, it would be like the gold mine for a prosecutor to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine the toll, but the guts and the balls that you had to fight the ones you did and continue to, that just shows what kind of man you are and lawyer that you are. Because I know, just as a citizen, what you're up against, and it's no joke.
It's no joke. It really is. And I appreciate you saying that. But again, I do really believe that there is a guy, there's a just judge, there is a King of Kings who's ultimately in charge of all of these things. And I do believe to some extent that before I left and my soul took, ownership in my body, that there was an agreement that I knew to some level what I was going to do, what I was going to participate in when I came here. And I have to honor that. I want to get back up there when I see him, when it's my time. And I want to be able to look him in the eye and say, hey, I know I wasn't perfect, but I fought my ass off. So whatever it's worth, I hope you let me in.
Well, you saved those lives. Those guys you got out, you saved their lives. Not kidding. You saved their lives and probably the people around them more than you know.
Well, you just we'll see. The fight abides. The fight continues no matter what. And these guys, what has happened to their families, it's crazy. And the level of recruitment and radicalization. A lot of these guys never would have went to like Brian Nichols, for instance, never went to a political protest in his life, but there was somebody who believed was affiliated with the government that infiltrated a chat group that he was in, a chat group where he was in for the specific purpose of helping people during search and rescue missions and natural disasters. These guys were targeted because they were veterans. They were targeted because they were mobile. And they said, hey, why don't you go down to the Capitol and protect Trump supporters? Antifa's going to be there. Wear this, do that. They all got set up. And, not enough people are talking about it. It's very, very sad.
And another thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, and this kind of goes back to your brother's situation and many others, all these private prisons. You have the private prisons that are making a boatload of money. Then you have Keefe, and Keefe is the commissary that has a monopoly that, if you want a ramen soup instead of 6 for $1.99, you're paying 89 cents per soup. So while we have all these private prisons, then privately owned commissary, then when you get out on your own probation or parole, they're all private entities. Even probation, in some counties are private. The more they put in, the more that they make. So as an attorney, and having your brother going through that, there's your brother. He's the guy, she says this, she says that, blah, blah, blah. We're going to make money off of them. We're not going to go 100% really look at the facts. How do you deal with that? And how do you get rid of all these fucking private prisons, man?
It's a racket. When the correction officers, when the COs move people around, they call them bodies, right? And how many people you got bringing up 3 bodies? And it's like, bodies? What the hell are you talking about? Those are human beings. The whole system, the whole thing is designed to dehumanize you, right? The whole thing about January 6ers is that why does the law from before January 6th not apply to them? Because they've created a sub-constitutional class of people. You're less than everybody else because of your politics and what you believe in. Because of that, you're not American enough to the extent that the Constitution applies to you. And because you're sub-constitutional, you're also subhuman. And we can stick you in jail and treat you like chattel because that's what you are. We don't view you as human. We view you as less than human. We're better than you. And because of that, you should suffer, and I'm just going to go drink my champagne tonight and forget about it because you're an animal, and I don't care what happens to you.
It's unbelievable. A couple more things, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
I had, believe it or not, I know I don't look it, but I'm a coder by nature. So a lot of people that come in, I can get on YouTube, and I don't care. I'll say it because I know how to code things. So people that always get censored and get knocked off, I can get them on. So I did Robert Dowd, and his book was called Cause Unknown, All the Deaths from COVID, blah, blah, blah. And Robert Kennedy Jr. had just forwarded the book. So I go to put them on, I'm in contract with Spotify, so it has to go on there first, and then it can go on YouTube. I go to put Dowd on YouTube, and I'm not even thinking Kennedy. This is before he announced he was going to run. It was like 3 days later. They striked me for just the name Robert Kennedy Jr. Now I'm going through the code, and I'm looking, because I know I shifted things for the COVID thing, so they couldn't hit me on that. But Kennedy, I'm like, I didn't even look. I didn't even think. Kennedy. He's a Democrat. Why would they give a shit? And then I realized, he's in the way of Biden. And now you see what they're doing to him now. And that was back in April or May. And now they're really censoring him. And now he went on Rogan. He's either coming in here on Zoom or in person. But now he's speaking out. He's speaking more. He's making some motion. And now they're censoring the hell out of him.
It's true. If Trump has the nomination, which I certainly believe he will, I'm going to vote for him, right?
Sure.
But I love RFK. First off, he's freaking jacked.
Yeah. Jacked. You see him doing his push-ups? It was like your Instagram. Yeah. Can you get it?
Yeah, you see that? Yeah, that's like running the yard out there. I'm like, wow, man, this guy looks better than me. This is phenomenal. Yeah. Right? Second, he's a Kennedy, so just on its face, that's friggin' awesome. Third, he's not a member of the Uniparty. He's never been, right? We all know that Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi have more in common with each other than we do with them, or vice versa. It's the Uniparty. It's one big group, and we're not in it, right? We all know that to be true. And he's an outsider, like President Trump was an outsider, and because of that, I like what he has to say. He was right on the vaccine. He was right on COVID. He's right on a lot of stuff. I don't agree with everything that he says, but I like him enough to retweet him and to put him on my Instagram and to tell people out there they should check this guy out because he's speaking truth. And we should have in the free marketplace of ideas, and certainly in the marketplace for our political candidates, we should have people out there that are speaking truth to power, and we should be able to make an informed decision on the person who's giving us as much truth as we can digest and that we can agree with. Not a bunch of morons who are just lying out of their teeth and out of their ass to saying whatever they can say to get elected. And it's like you just said, you hit it right on the head. He's in Biden's way. Because of that, they're going to rub him out. And it's up to guys like you and like us who may or may not vote for him to make sure that we prop him up to whatever extent that we can, but a simple fact that he's not a member of that group.
And sir, I mean, this is America, right? Like I'm like Trump. Everybody, I don't understand why these bigger guys don't look at what he did. Forget about the Twitter. In 24 hours, he would end the Russia-Ukraine war because he would sit them down. He's not laundering money. And he would say, hey, look, you take this, it's over. It's done. But nobody, how are you going to end it in 24 hours? Because he's going to negotiate. He's a businessman. He'd end all this shit. But I want to bring Kennedy's views more to light, too. I'm a Trump guy as well. I'm not left, right. I'm for whatever's good. I think Trump needs back in there and clean this up. But Kennedy's not a bad choice either or to take a look at.
I agree with you 100%. I think he's great. I'd love to see them, no matter what happens, I'd love to see them work together in some capacity, because they are honest. They speak the facts. One guy speaks the truth about politics in the world. That's his thing. The other guy speaks the thing about the world and science. That's his thing. They make a good team. And when you shine light into the darkness has a tendency to run like hell because bad deeds are exposed when the light shines into the dark. And these two guys are a bright light in a very, very dark and unfortunate situation. And because of that, I support them both to some extent. If I know who my candidate for president, who I'll vote for, but I certainly believe that if I was a Democrat, if I had to choose between RFK and Joe Biden, I mean, you got to have some kind of mental defect to vote for Joe Biden. It's crazy, especially when the other guy looks like that. I mean, come on, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, and very factual based, and that's why I think it's good to shine light on both of them. I'm with you. Like I know who I'm going to vote for as well, but they would be a hell of a team. They would. And what I like about Kennedy, he's an open-minded guy. He's not a jerk off. And by Kennedy coming out, what that does is you look around at the other ones and you say, Jesus, She's with them too. He's with them too, because you start to see it all on both sides. How has, as you being an attorney and taking high profile cases, and even before you took, some other high profile cases, how has social media impacted your practice?
I use social media heavy in my practice. I am at McBride Law NYC across all social media platforms, and it's been a huge part of the way that I advocate for my clients. There's been this old antiquated way of thinking in law, and when I first started doing it, especially with regard to January 6 cases, guys were like, "You're going on TV, you're on Twitter." I said, "Excuse me, do you see what the other side is doing? You watch CNN, you watch MSNBC, you see the January 6th committee's Twitter account. Liz Cheney gets 5 million views saying all these lies about my clients. Somebody has to get out there and somebody has to fight, and it has to proffer a counter narrative and get the right people to back them and to retweet them and to do that." And, so I was one of the people legally to sort of pioneer this technique. And if you don't use it, you're a fool. You have to use it because it's an information war out there. The other side is going to slander you. They're going to attack you online, in the media. And if you don't defend yourself, and if you don't attack them back, well, then it's like two countries are going to war, and one country has an army and the Navy, and the other country's got an army and Navy and the Air Force. Well, if you don't have an Air Force, you're shit out of luck. They're going to bomb you to death. And that's sort of what social media is. It is the ability to type a message or to get a message out, long form, short form, or on print, onto Twitter, onto Instagram, onto anywhere on the internet, and just bomb the crap out of your opponent. And if you can get enough allies to join you in your war, you can be very effective. And so for the purposes of being able to wage war against your enemies, it's an effective thing, number one. Number two, in terms of being able to brand myself, in terms of being able to advertise, it used to be, you would use the traditional mediums to advertise, commercials, TV, whatever it is, magazines, newspapers. I don't need to do that. I can just, me and my team, we sit down, we get together, I type up a tweet, I put out a video up there. People are like, I hate this guy. Other people are like, I love this guy. And you can generate business, you can generate income, you can get your message out there. And, win, lose, or draw, love or hate, people know who you are. So you have to use it. People who don't use it, well, that's your decision. I respect it. But, I don't see how you can function in today's world without it.
I've had Roger Stone in a bunch of times and a lot of dinners with him at his house. And he's the first to tell you, any publicity is good publicity. So with him, man,
especially when you dress like him. No matter what happens, he looks like $1 million.
Yeah. He can make the best. He can make good gravy though. Me and my girl and my daughter went over there. He can cook gravy, man.
Really?
Shit, yeah, good. Yeah, he's nuts. He's Roger. He's Roger 24/7, man. Showing my little daughter's Nixon tattoo on his back. He don't care, but he's got balls though. He's got balls too.
He does have balls. I respect him a lot. And what happened?
They fucked with him. Jesus.
Yes. And that's the beginning of the world we really live in.
Yeah.
Like when they went after him, that was the beginning of going after everybody else. When you saw the FBI show up at his door, and it's what the hell is this actually happening? And it happened to him, and then it was just like this slippery slope after that. And
you're gonna laugh at this. I'm gonna make you die. He came in, and we did a podcast, and he sold pictures when the FBI was taking him out signatures. And he had made 500 of them. After he came on, he had to make 3,000 more, and he was bitching that he had to sign them. So he took the picture from the security camera, and ended up selling, I don't know, after this podcast, like 3,500 of them at whatever. Roger Stone is free, or what did it say?
Roger. Oh my God! Roger Stone is free, I think, or something.
Yeah, just funny.
Oh, Roger Stone did nothing wrong.
Yeah, Roger Stone did nothing.
That's right. That's right.
And
the guy's a G. I love him.
He's a G.
I love him.
They tried to blew up his office to say here, and there was a building right next to it, and they dropped the drone. They blew it up, and he's walking around with it with his camera. It's just wild man. Lastly, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Young lawyers coming up that may see this and they like how you are, smart, let's go get it, power. What advice would you give them coming up in the field, about to get it and what they're walking into to be like yourself?
Sure. You're a young lawyer and you're coming up and you're not going to go the white shoe, I want to work for a corporate overlord route. And if that's what you want to do, go do it. Right. But if that's not what you want to do, if you want to be your own man and your own woman out there, you got to believe in yourself. You got to take risk. You got to come up with a plan, a definite plan of action. You got to write it down. You got to visualize it. You got to commit yourself to it. You got to get rid of all of the people in your life who don't support you, all of the people in your life who weigh you down, the naysayers, the doubters, whoever they are. And if they're people you love, you just tell them, listen, whoever you are, I'll see you in a couple of years when I get to where I need to be and we can reconnect then. But right now, I can only have people around me who support my vision. And if that's you and your poodle and a bag of Doritos, then so be it, right? You start with the people around you who support your vision. If that's one person or 10 people, that's great. And if that's just you, then that's just you, and that's okay too. And then you execute a plan. You go out into the world, you believe in yourself, and you take risk. Me getting to where I am today has to do with me walking into rooms where I don't belong. I've been walking into rooms that I don't belong in since I've been a kid. And, I just like to walk into rooms where I don't belong. And I figure it out. And then you run the room at some point, right? Just the way it goes. You gotta have guts. You gotta be a people person, and you gotta have a code, right? Whether it's the religious code, the code of the street, a code of who you are as a man or a woman, you got to have a system of beliefs. You got to have a system of values. If people know that about you, the right people will gravitate toward you. The wrong people will flee from you. And if you stay true to yourself, and if you do the things that you love, and if you take risk and stand up for unpopular causes, no matter what the going trend is, you'll make money, you'll make a difference, and you'll be happy in the end.
And that could go for anything anybody does.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick, I want Rob to tell Mr. McBride the story that you covered with the judge.
Oh,
Rob used to be the cameraman with the big camera
years ago, and I worked up in Pennsylvania. We had two corrupt judges, kids for cash scheme, they called it. And what they did was they would take a kid who had, he got caught smoking cigarettes on campus grounds. And, the mom would say, my kid needs to learn a lesson. He shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. The judge is like, that's right. We'll put him into juvenile detention for 2 weeks. We'll shape him up. So 2 weeks turned into a month, turned into 3 months, turned into 6 months. And, the parents are like, what the fuck? Like, he's smoking a cigarette. But they would find ways while they're in there, well, they weren't abiding by this, so they have to be punished longer. And it was all a kickback scheme because it was a private prison funded by their friend, and it was just back and forth. So the main judge got 37 years in prison, and the other guy got 17, but they let him out during COVID, so he's on house arrest for the rest of those, hanging out in Delray Beach on the Intracoastal.
Unbelievable, right? I wanted you to hear that because I knew you'd do it. Jeez Louise. Mr. McBride will have, you didn't see it because it will look stupid, but all the pop-ups, your website, your Instagram, your Twitter has been throughout the video. We'll have everything in the description, and give everybody the best way to get a hold of you. You're an awesome guy, man. You're so fun to talk to. Yeah. This is one of the funnest ones, man.
Yeah, I agree. Thank
you. I really appreciate that. Again, I'm McBride Law NYC across all social media platforms. My contact information is up on the website, email, phone, P.O. box. And I hope when I'm down in South Florida in the near future, we can go grab that steak.
Steak.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, please do. And whenever you have time, you can fly in. If you get a break, I'll fly you and your wife in and back the same day, and we'll just hang out and talk and have a good time, man. You're really cool. I really appreciate your time and honor what you're doing for all these guys.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And I'm going to take you up on that.
Yeah, if you don't, I'll just hound you.
Yeah.
I'll hound you like a psycho. The next thing I know, I'll get a harassment charge or some shit. Hey, bless you and your wife and your family and everything, really.
Thank you, guys. God bless you. Thanks for all the work you're doing. You have amazing guests on here. And I look forward to your next guest as well. And I look forward to seeing this up very soon.
It will be. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you in person very soon. And if not, then another Zoom.
Yeah, no, both. But I'm going to be down there. Let's do it for sure.
You gotta work on that tan, man.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate it. You're awesome.
All right, guys. Take care.
You.